So it's been a minute since I've made another video for the channel, and I thought I'd touch on incubators in this one. Now, in my opinion, you just can't beat a hen hatching her own eggs, but for a lot of us that's impractical because we want to get more numbers, and your typical hen, depending on what you're setting underneath of her, you're only going to get between 6 and maybe 20 eggs if you're talking bantams or quail eggs. And then that hen's tied up with raising the chicks as well, unless you pull them. And even if you pull them, you got to give that hen a little time to recuperate and go broody again. So that's why we have incubators. Now, not everybody can afford the nice fancy new ones, and a lot of you probably see the styrofoam ones at the feed store. But I want to present to you another option. There's a lot of these old galvanized incubators out there. You can pick them up at farm sales, bird auctions. You can look for them on Craigslist, that kind of thing. And they probably do work. They're very simple. You plug it in, and this is your adjustment for your temperature. Alright, you're going to have a little thermometer, something like this, or you can pick up a thermometer at your feed store, whatever. Lay your thermometer on top of the eggs so that you can see it looking down through this plexiglass here, or this plastic. You're probably going to have to shine a flashlight to be able to see it. Now, the heating element on this type of incubator runs on a wafer. Alright, they still make these. This was $7.85. I got it this spring from Smith Poultry and Game Bird out of Bucyrus, Kansas. Hope I pronounced that right. Every time I bought stuff from them, it's always been a good deal. But anyway, the way these work is there's a fluid in there. And this disc expands and contracts and makes contact inside of the lid, and when it restricts, it is no longer making contact and causes the heating element to kick in to stabilize the temperature. So that's really all there is to these incubators. There's a little water pan in the bottom, but the downside with these egg incubators is you have to turn the eggs by hand. And let me tell you, if you've got this thing full, it doesn't look very big, but I had like 60 duck eggs in one of these last spring. And you're going to learn how to turn eggs in a hurry when you've got that many eggs, because it's such a small incubator. You got to take the whole lid off. They're going to cool down in a hurry, so you got to learn how to turn them in a hurry without dropping them. I recommend putting an X on one side, an O on the other, or something like that, so you know that you've turned it 180 degrees every time you do it. Positive side is you only got to do it twice a day, minimum. Okay, you can do it 3 times a day. The automated turners, I believe, turn them once every hour. These, I don't even know, to be honest, how old these are. This is a Brower. I've got an old Sears and Roebuck. If I get my Redwood incubator up here, I'll do a video on it, but they just keep going and going. So I'm going to show you the inside here now. So here's basically how it's arranged. Alright, the bottom of the incubator sits on a couple of little feet, which raises it up off the ground. It then has 4 holes in the bottom, so it's a still air incubator, and there's 4 holes in the lid, and that helps to circulate the air. This little container here is all the water you need. As long as you got water in that thing, you're covered, you're good. Okay? Again, little thermometers, I like to keep 1 or 2 in there. And your eggs are just going to sit on this piece of hail screen, this piece of hardware cloth. That's it. That's all there is to the bottom of the incubator. Top of the incubator, there's your wafer. It makes contact up in here that controls your temperature. And then you've got the heating element that runs all the way around the top in a circle. And you got to keep this thing at 100 degrees. And depending on the species you're hatching in it, there's going to be different hatch dates, so you got to look into that yourself. But it's really that simple. I mean, this thing's baling wired on there. Okay. One thing I will talk about for a second is cleaning these things. Do not submerge them in water. Aside from ruining the electrical on the lid, you'll notice it's got this, I don't even know what the material is off the top of my head, but it's got this little bit of material in the top and the bottom that acts kind of like insulation. And if you get it wet, it's going to curl and it's going to separate, and you can see it raises up on the edges and it makes it uneven and just difficult to try and put your eggs on. So by all means, scrub it with some soap and water, but don't drown it. Okay, now as far as incubating eggs go, there's a couple of things I like to do. And the first thing is, if at all possible, I like to run an incubator and a hatcher separate. Now, what's a hatcher? Well, this could be a hatcher. Basically, all it is a separate tray or a separate machine where you're putting your eggs in that you expect to hatch for the week. Now, I've done my hatching in the same incubator as what I've been turning the eggs in, but when you're doing multiple weeks, for example, let's say I got 2 or 3 weeks worth of eggs in here because I've got, maybe a dozen each. Problem is you got to keep this incubator shut in order to have a successful hatch, which then does not allow you to be able to turn your other eggs. And not only that, when those little chicks hatch out, there's going to be all kinds of mess that they're going to get all over the other eggs, which could lead to a basically bacterial infection of the other eggs and cause them to go bad. So it's really a better idea to do your hatching where your chicks are not going to interfere with your other eggs that are still developing. The other important thing with your incubator use is you have to set it up somewhere where you're not going to forget about it. You're going to go by it often so you can check on the temperature, check on the water. I usually only check the water when I have it open to turn the eggs, okay? But the room has to be constant in temperature and humidity, especially on these little models, because, like I said, they're small and they're very prone to fluctuation if you don't have them in the right environment. And these incubators, in my opinion, are a really good way to get started. And I already told you some of the spots where you can look for them, but the truth is, talk to some of your old family members. One of these I have 3 of these round incubators, okay? One of them belonged to my great-grandmother. Second one I got as a gift from an old family friend. And the third one came from an old science teacher that I had. And the redwood that hopefully I'll get a video of later this spring actually was bought originally by my uncle. So if you've got family or friends that had a farm or their own birds or whatever, they might just have one sitting in storage somewhere. Okay, and the big round one I have, the Sears and Roebuck, it's like twice the size of this one, and there's some that are half the size of this one. So you can find ones that are various sizes, and if you feel like you need another hobby to sink money into, you could always start collecting and restoring these as well. Let you know. Oh, one more thing before I finish this video up. When you go to hatch your eggs, have this incubator running for about a week or 2 before you put any eggs in it. And that goes for any incubator, because you need to have time to make sure that it's going to hold temperature, and to troubleshoot it and make sure everything's working good. So you don't want any unexpected surprises once you've already got eggs in there, because it can damage your embryos and even cost you your entire hatch. And should you live somewhere where there are power outages, potentially, if you can, get a generator so that you can keep this thing running even if the power goes out. If you can't, then do not open the incubator until the power is back on, because that will help to keep the heat into the thing. And even if the temperature drops significantly, as long as it's for a very short period of time, don't throw the eggs out. Give the incubator time to get back up to temp. You know, candle them about a week or two down the road, see if they died out or not. Once I get some eggs going, I'm hoping to do some videos with candling as well. So, thanks for watching. If you like the videos, hit like, share them, that kind of thing. It helps us out.